no, don't. Right, are we done? Am I going to do this held at gunpoint or something?
Yeah.
Come on, we've got work to do. If I've got to cook dinner later, and it's going to be too late if we keep going on.
One more.
Yeah, if you keep messing around.
No bullets. Teacher, no bullets left. Come on.
Right, come on.
Yeah, you've had your fun. Yeah. All right, bye-bye.
Bye, mate.
Yeah, Mum. Say bye to Will.
Bye, Will.
Bye, mate. See you later.
No,
No, not that way.
Well, I don't know if there's a better way to start the We Are West Ham podcast this week than listening to James Jones get shot with a Nerf gun by his son and, most hilariously, actually, his wife, Lucy. Still going on. Harrowing scenes on the We Are West Ham podcast. Unfortunately, James is in charge of editing, so whether this will get lifted in or not, I do not know. But we are fresh off the back of a 2-0 victory, a 2-1 victory even, excuse me, away at Wolverhampton Wanderers on the weekend. Absolutely happy days. Now, it's one of those podcasts, right? And they've happened a few times this season where West Ham have got a good result and I'm a little bit scared to enjoy it. James Jones, I must admit, though, looks in an absolutely stinker of a mood after being pelted with little foam bullets by his son and his wife in the opening to this podcast. Jonesy, how's it going? West Ham have got 3 extra points. Points I expected them to get, but not many of our fans did, I don't think, which sort of, does a pretty good job of solidifying as much as possible 7th position. I know the teams below us have got games in hand, but at least we've got the points on the board. I don't know where to start, really. The war zone that is the James Jones household, and I'll be honest, the absolutely furious, livid, raging face that you've got on, which is the face of a dad face, I would call it, where like a joke started or some sort of initially funny behavior happened from their child around 15 minutes before the point we're at now, and it was funny for about 2.
I'd like to say that it was initiated by Harrison, the 4-year-old living in the house, but it wasn't. It was initiated by Luce, the 34-year-old living in the house. She's crept into my office and started pummeling me with a Nerf gun. And Harrison caught wind of it, got his own Nerf gun, and they both started shooting me for about 10 minutes. So,
I love it. When you say Harrison got his own Nerf gun, as in like Lucy's got her own one?
No, she borrowed his most powerful one. Right. He got the weakest one of the lot, which is actually there was another one. We got 3 in the house. And yeah, that was. I'm just sitting here, kind of waiting for you to arrive. Getting absolutely like, and it's not the first war I've had today, because I had a war with a spider earlier as well, and.
With a spider. Go on.
Yeah.
Talk me. First of all, sorry. One thing I would say is, like, you were genuinely wincing. Then I just watched you getting shot by a children's gun, and you were actually wincing and like having that proper like mood on. I don't know if I clicked record in time for anyone to hear the right. Yeah, that's enough now. Like, I've stopped finding this funny a long time ago. Leave me alone. Go away. Yeah, but yeah, children's guns, foam bullets, aren't they?
Yeah, the one that Lucy had is one with the foam balls, and it's very, very powerful.
I'm not too au fait with the Nerf gun range at the moment, mate. I'll be honest.
Well, I wasn't until Harrison came along and started enjoying Nerf guns. But yeah, the little foam balls are worse, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and she shooting me at pretty much point blank range in the head.
all I did hear was you were in serious trouble, and I assumed you were talking to your very young son. No, but after clarifying, you were talking to your wife.
He can get away with it. Luce can't. So I will be.
I've got cooked dinner later, and it's going to be late if you carry on like this. Absolutely superb stuff. Well, Jamesy, look, I mean, it's just been a while, I think, since we covered some of the more mundane aspects of our lifestyle. I think probably because Stuart, who works with my dad, who I've told you about before, said to my dad that he listens to the podcast every week, but he'd switched off pretty swiftly in the sort of middle of February, I think, because, and I quote, Will was just talking about his holiday too much. So I think it's striking the balance in it between like a little bit of home life and majority football chat. I feel like the first 5 minutes there is just, excellent spontaneous podcasting.
Great content. Yeah. I'd like to say we should do it more often, but maybe find something different for the first 5 minutes than me getting shot.
Doesn't involve you getting bullied by a kid and your wife.
Yeah.
James, West Ham won away from home. 2-1 against Wolves, who are in the mix in our portion of the table. I spoke to Dan Bayliss from the Wolves 77 podcast last week. And I just had a funny feeling in my waters, quite honestly. My Betway charity bet was, in fact, a winner by default because, West Ham, I said Craig Dawson to score, West Ham to win, and Wolves to score less than 4.5 goals. Craig Dawson didn't play a single minute, which was a bit of a shame. I was fully expecting him to, really, just because I thought, the emotional homecoming, and I thought Craig will know a bit more about how to play against West Ham. They left him on the bench. West Ham did win the game, and it was less than 4.5 goals. A little bit of controversy, as always, as seems to be sort of personifying games of football recently. To be honest, I'm pretty bored of it. We'll get into the minutiae of it in the actual review section shortly. We've got an exciting old game coming up on Thursday. I'm jetting out to Germany on Wednesday morning. Bayer Leverkusen away, first leg of the Europa League quarter final. What a fixture that promises to be. They're still yet to lose a game this season. And look set to knock Bayern Munich off of their perch as perennial Bundesliga winners. What a story that is under Xabi Alonso. And I've got a similarly good feeling, James, a quietly confident feeling that we do Bayer Leverkusen over 2 legs, as I had before we went and got an excellent win, 2-1 away at Wolves at Molineux on the weekend. How David Moyes is that victory?
Well, I wrote in my BBC column earlier that if there was ever a time, given the scrutiny that it's had all season, if there's ever a time for Moyes-ball, it's now. The win against Wolves, just refreshing to come out of a game on the right side of a VAR controversy, given the few weeks we've had. And I do feel for Wolves, and I know we'll get onto it. But the Leverkusen game on Thursday, you just know it's going to be peak Moyes-ball. Go there, either get a result or only come back with a 1-0 defeat and try and overturn it in the second leg.
Yeah, and
bring
it on. Is what I'm saying.
If there's ever a time that fans are going to be desperate for that style of football, it's going to be on Thursday night, isn't it? Just to try and avoid an embarrassment. But I think we've got it in us to do it, and they've got to lose at some point.
Definitely.
And I've been
Karabakh scored 4 goals against them.
Ever since we drew them, I've been keeping an eye on their results, and they rely quite a lot on very late goals. So we've got to be careful with that.
Yeah. Mind you, that's some people will say that's a good thing, but when West Ham do it, it's like a sign of you're the worst football team in history. Well, that wasn't actually a jibe at you, then. To be honest, that genuinely wasn't.
If you're unbeaten in like 40, then I suppose you can.
Yeah, it's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, they're 41 games unbeaten, so that's got to end at some point. And I won't go as far as say I've got a funny feeling we're going to do it, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if we did over the 2 legs. I'm not saying we'll go to Leverkusen and win, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh no, I've already got it. I reckon we'll lose 2-1 on Thursday. 2-0 down, but then I reckon like a proper ugly Thomas Souček, like scrappy, either poke home from 4 yards or a header on about 76 minutes to just give us a bit of hope, I think. I'm very confident indeed, James. I think it's just a different mindset. It's a different everything, isn't it? Two-legged football. And I think David Moyes has shown he's the absolute master of it. As long as Aaron Cresswell isn't anywhere near it, then, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, honestly, I'm really, really seriously confident. It's been a while since you and I spoke. A decent 1-1 draw. Obviously, that was sort of wedged into the middle of the week, the 1-1 draw against Tottenham. I thought it was overall a decent result. Then the good result at Wolves. We're looking pretty good, quite honestly. I mean, it's been a while before that Newcastle defeat. Obviously, our last defeat in the Premier League was Nottingham Forest 2-0 away. The only other loss we had was away to Freiburg, and then we obviously smashed them 5-0 at home. Villa, Newcastle, Tottenham. To get 2 points out of that, I appreciate it's not great, but it's also not absolutely abysmal. I don't think. Obviously, a win would have been nice. All that, but I think we're just sort of chugging along nicely, is what I'd say at the moment. How are you generally feeling? It's been a while since we last spoke. You kindly gave me your ticket to the Tottenham game at home, so a couple more members of my family could attend also. But how are you sort of generally feeling at the moment before we launch into the minutiae of the Wolves away game, and then a little bit about Leverkusen away on Thursday too?
I'm feeling a lot better than I was after the Newcastle game, if I'm honest. I mean, the Newcastle game, just controversy aside, you just shouldn't be letting 3-1 leads go with going into the last 20 minutes. Shouldn't have been in that position. Yes, Newcastle were given a huge helping hand by the decisions that were made.
Not much.
And the moment that they gave that penalty, I just knew straight away, we're not going to win this game. And that just, it's not great. But I thought the Spurs result was good, a hard fought, good point.
Yeah,
against a good
respect
side.
the point. Yeah. 4 points against Tottenham this season is a decent haul, isn't it?
Take it.
Yeah.
But then 3:45 on Saturday afternoon, I was very close to just tweet, because I think if we'd have lost against Wolves, that would have been, I don't think we would have qualified for Europe. I think that would have been a bit of an issue for us.
Without winning the Europa League, which we're definitely going to do.
We would have slipped down to 9th. Wolves would have gone above us. And I was ready to tweet going, at least we beat Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United this season. Isn't that right, Will? And I was quite ready to tweet that. Thankfully, it didn't happen.
Glad the football gods reined you back in.
Yeah. But I was still quite annoyed. I did tweet about it after the game, but
West Ham won. Yeah, you've got that vibe off you a few times.
No, I went through a real mix of emotions on Saturday afternoon. I popped to the pub to kind of watch the scores come in for the second half. I had a few bets on, and one of my accumulators was coming in. I think I was set to win about 840 odd quid, and it was offering me, with about 10 minutes to go, £500 and 13p or something silly like that as a cash out. And I had my thumb hovering over the big green button, ready to go. Right, I'll take that now. And then as I'm about to do it, Soccer Saturday goes nuts. I can't remember who's watching that game. I think it was Neil Lennon. That was a goal at Molineux. James Ward-Prowse has scored straight from a corner, and I've jumped up on yes. Like, focus on the cash out's completely gone. By the time I finished fist pumping, I've looked down at my phone. Cash out's dropped down to 30 quid. Reading have scored against Lincoln, and I had Lincoln to win that. So James Ward-Prowse gave me a lot of joy in 3 points on Saturday at Wolves, but also a lot of heartbreak because it cost me 500 quid. So
for scoring when he did.
Cheers, James Ward-Prowse. But it's a great win given the circumstances.
Yeah,
and it essentially rules Wolves out the race. Although we wouldn't rule anything out, but I think that they were coming up a little bit from nowhere for a European push. But it's probably between us and Newcastle now for top 7. So yeah, I'm pleased with it. I'm a lot happier than I was a couple of weeks ago, and Fulham at home after the Leverkusen game, good opportunity for points there as well. So yeah, we're going okay still.
We are indeed, mate. We are indeed. Right. Just a reminder, you can get us on social media at @WeAre_West Ham. I've tried to be a little bit more active recently off the podcast account. I sort of go in waves of social media. Sometimes I, proper actually enjoy it. And because to be fair, and I've said this time and time again, I think on the We Are West Ham podcast account, almost all of our interactions, that's what I like about it. People give Twitter a bad name. Almost all of our interactions, whether they're agreeing with what me or James, whoever's writing at the time, say or not, are always pretty respectful. Are always pretty, people making decent points and what have you. And yeah, that's carried on. James got a wry smile on his face.
But I have to say that I have noticed that after most games at the moment, when you get hold of the Twitter account, it always feels like you've decided to tweet off the podcast Twitter account when it's when you're tweeting things that you don't want people to realise it's you. Because sometimes you're very
confirm or deny.
You're very not controversial, but very sort of like told you so type or very antagonistic towards other sections of the fan base that may or may not have hold the same opinion of you about certain things. And I do read it sometimes and just go, Will, just tweet that off your own account, mate. And
it's the We Are West Ham podcast. That's
but you don't put like your initial. You don't put your initials in brackets or anything. So sometimes people might think it's me, and I'm like, no. Sometimes I want to reply to and go, nothing to do with that one. I'm steering well clear of that.
Listen, mate, we're in this together, whether you like it or not. I have to listen to you drone on with the chimes of misery when West Ham are 7th in the league. So you've got to take some of the flack for stuff I put on Twitter that I don't put on. No, the thing is, honestly, is my personal one. I follow it's more of a general, I don't follow loads of specific West Ham accounts, if that makes sense. Like the podcast one is the one where it's more like a taste of the fan base, if you know what I mean. When I go on Twitter and it's like I want to have a West Ham, see what the West Ham reaction is, the feeling among fans. I go on the podcast account. And then my own one is more of like a general sort of football, sports, like personal one or whatever. So and my We Are West Ham podcast persona, if you like. It's not persona, it's who I am, but sort of set. You know what I mean? Like your I don't know, it sounds a bit rank this actually, but your general brand is like quite West Ham related anyway, isn't it? You were an influencer on the West Ham sphere before me and you even met, weren't we? So
yeah, I suppose so.
I'm nothing in the West Ham world without the podcast, unlike you.
This is, I suppose, this is just a good opportunity to say that if, because I do the tweets on the Twitter account when we're promoting something like the Betway charity bets or the most recent launch of an episode. Anything else,
mystery in there.
Anything else is 95% likely to have come from Will's thumbs and not mine.
Unbelievable stuff. Well, look, anyway, at We Are _West Ham is where you can get tweets from me and James, and they will not be initialed, so it's up to you to guess. But you can also get us on Instagram at We Are West Ham Pod. You get us. Where else can you get us? You can email us at wearewesthampod@gmail.com, which is exactly what Jim Odie has done this week. Jonesy, even want to get your thoughts on this? Jim, regular listener to the podcast, regular emailer in. Hi guys. Well, it was a must-win game at Wolves, and we obliged. It's about time we had a bit of luck with the decision. So onwards and upwards to Leverkusen. We'll enjoy the trip. I'll be thinking of you. Good luck. Cheers, Jim. Changing the subject, there's a very good article in the Mail by their cricket correspondent on Spurs season ticket prices, but it highlighted to me some of the issues you've highlighted with tourist fans. They obviously want the club to do well and spend money in the club shop when they come, but do not really understand what it's all about. Not sure what the answer is. However, hopefully we do not price the faithful out of going. Fingers and toes fully crossed for Thursday. Best wishes, Jim. Cheers, Jim. Regular contributor. Nice to hear from you again. Jonesy, what are your thoughts on Jim's point there about clubs, tourist fans spending money in their club shop, Spurs pricing out seniors, that sort of thing? You know, rumours that West Ham considering doing the same. What do you make of Jim's email there?
I mean, first of all, I don't think you can do anything about it, and I don't think any clubs want to do anything about it, because you can't discriminate against people that just want to go and watch a game of football if they're in the country for a few days.
Right.
I mean, anyone that feels incredibly strongly about tourists going to Premier League football matches, I do wonder whether they're the same people that, when they have a trip to Barcelona, try and squeeze a game in at the Nou Camp.
Exactly what I've done before. Yeah,
I wonder,
you know,
I've
done that a lot.
always, whenever I go somewhere, I always look to see whether there's a game on. So we do it. The English are renowned for going to. Everyone wants to go to San Siro. They want to go to Nou Camp, catch Barcelona. They want to go to Bernabeu and catch Real Madrid. So what's the difference for people?
I went to the Copa Libertadores final between Boca Juniors and River Plate. And one of my favourite games I've ever been to. You know, I consider myself a Boca Juniors fan because of the Carlos Tevez links as well. And it was brilliant, but. You know, like you say, I'm not Argentinian. There would have been a Boca Juniors fan far more warranting of going than me. But do you think, you know, James, the sort of story was, or the rumor or the suggestion was, that West Ham were, I don't know. Well, obviously there was a suggestion that the new OAP tickets or concession tickets were going to be restricted to certain sections of the ground. But I don't know really. I mean, tickets go up every year anyway. There is a if fans are alienated too much, right, then the product's worse for the broadcasters, which, like it or not, is where the money's at these days, and it's the TV fans who are focused on the most. But there was a suggestion, and again, these are from sort of spurious sources, they're not like respectable news outlets, but there was a suggestion that the club were looking to ban season ticket holders as well, who'd been to a small number of games. No number was specified. Again, that's why it's sort of not a reputable news story or a news outlet really. But the club were looking to ban fans who don't go to football, but most importantly, the most important bit, or don't go to that many West Ham games at home, but have a season ticket. But most importantly, then don't put their ticket up for sale on the ticket exchange, therefore allowing other fans to go in their place. And let's be honest, right? That might be, the club can paint it as, oh, we don't want empty seats because we want more people, you know, behind the boys. It's not, because that's less hot dogs and programs and beers and burgers and all that bought in popcorn or whatever at halftime before the game and afterwards. They want bums on seats. Lots of the replies in the comments were, well, you know, if you perhaps made the match going experience a bit more pleasant, then people will think about it a bit more. If you didn't offer season tickets so cheap, I'm not necessarily sure if it's cheapness or not, but it was an interesting sort of point, really. What did you make of that? And then, because I'll be honest, I haven't really, tourist fans isn't a problem. You know, our own fans have just been just as quiet this season and in recent years as anyone from every other nationality. I've been to football all over the world and have loved it, and yeah, don't really feel, given the way global football's going now, like we're not at Upton Park anymore. I wish we were. I enjoyed football more when we were, but we're not. And there isn't, you know, the notion that if you stopped tourist fans going, it doesn't matter to me whether you're flying from the USA or you've driven in from Birmingham. Like, different people have different circumstances. But what do you sort of make of that general suggestion that the club are going to crack down on that a bit more? Because if it's, to be honest, it's the quality of the fan in the ground that bothers me the most and affects the atmosphere and all that sort of thing, if you ask me.
I did see the tweet that suggested, I think it was reported from a club insider that was the situation. The club were unhappy about a lot of empty seats.
Few of those,
and I mean, I just don't know how they would enforce it, or that the fans would let them get away with it. Because, I mean, when I did see it, I went, "Oh, I've missed quite a few home games this season. Like, I could be in trouble here." But I've been in the season ticket holder.
But is your ticket being used? Like, as your ticket?
Yeah, most of them. If I haven't been, I have given it to a mate. And the way I see it is that
you won't show up on the system, then, will you?
No, I shouldn't do. But I did for a split second. I did panic a little bit. But I mean, I'm within my rights to give it to a mate. I've paid for the ticket. If I want to give it away to someone, then I can do that. It's my ticket.
You're also within your rights not to go, surely.
Yes,
if you don't want to go,
exactly. But I've been a season ticket holder for 20 years, so I think the club would have a very difficult case to stop me from renewing.
Yeah.
Just off the back of one season where I've not been able to go as much due to other commitments and whatnot. But I don't.
What do you make of the suggestion then that people who go to just say the big six, right? Or sorry, the big 5.5, because I refuse to include Tottenham in that group of clubs. What would you make of teams who just say if the club are looking at it going, look, these, I don't know, 5,000 tickets, say, have only been to 6 games this season, and for the remaining games they haven't bothered putting their ticket on the ticket exchange. Now, regardless of whether people don't buy the idea that it's because they want more fans in supporting the club, it's because it's more money spent over the kiosks and stuff like that, right? So what do you, and to an extent, to give the club a bit of a leeway, really, like the PSR, the profit sustainability rules, financial fair play now these days, like clubs sort of have to be maximizing revenue wherever they can. I'm not saying that the owners we've got wouldn't have done that anyway, but there is almost like a sporting thing now where they have to maximize revenue as much as they can. But anyway, assuming, James, right, if you're the club and you're looking and you've got a season ticket holder who has been to 5 games last season and they were all the big 6 games, and they just don't show up for the rest or put the ticket on the ticket exchange, what would you do? Does that sit okay with you if they then say to that person, right, you're not having your ticket next year?
Well, if I was the club, I would be looking at, okay, well, why aren't they going to more games? And why are they only going to these games? And I think a lot of it, if there are fans out there that do that and buy the season ticket purely to go to those games, I would say that's got to be a lot down to the availability of tickets for those games on the general sale. And when there is availability, the cost for a one-off ticket to a game to see a so-called top 6 club. I mean, the ticket that I gave you, my ticket I gave you for Tottenham, on it, that's 75 quid face value. The same for the Arsenal one, where I was in hospitality, so I gave my ticket to a mate. I was still in the ground, but I gave my seat to a mate. 75 quid on the front of that.
And what's your band? 4, is it?
3. We're band 3. So I think the overall cost of a ticket is about 7. I think this year it's 770. I think for the seat for next season. But yeah, like, so a lot of fans are going, well, maybe I'll just buy the season ticket, pay it off over 10 months. That way, I'm guaranteed a seat to every game that I want to go to. There'll be games I can't get to or don't want to go to, but I can try and give that to a mate or whatever. But at least I'm guaranteed seats.
But then, no, but they wouldn't be on the list, right? Would they? Because if they're giving it to a mate, it gets
okay. Maybe they're not giving it to a mate, but
that's the problem. Is the empty seat?
I'm guaranteed a seat for the games I want to go to against the bigger clubs, and in the London derbies. And beyond that, I don't care because I've got a seat for those games. I'm not going to take the gamble by not renewing the season ticket and just trying to get it in the open market, because the likelihood is, if there is one, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. I'd rather pay
and I might not get one.
£700 over 10 months on a plan, guarantee my seat, and I'm done. Then I haven't got to worry about it. And I think that's what a lot of fans probably do, because there's probably 6 games that fans probably look, home games, 6 or 7 home games a season where fans look at and go, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Beyond that, when you're looking at, no disrespect to him, I know I say that and it's technically disrespectful.
Go on. Who are you
but
gonna pick?
When you're looking at like games against Sheffield United, a lot of disrespect to them, to be fair. The Forest, same thing.
Yeah, I knew Forest was going to be on there. I thought it was going to be Fulham, Bournemouth, or Forest.
Fulham and Bournemouth don't really care. Luton, I'm looking forward to a Luton game in a few weeks, to be fair. But like the rest of them, just like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't know how the club would be able to enforce it without a general uproar from a large portion of the fan base.
It's not going to be a large number, I don't think, to be honest, because a large number of season ticket would probably go.
I think, but there would be uproar from season ticket holders that won't be affected by that, because
how many of them is there, mate?
It means that there might be a risk in the future that they would be affected, because there might be a season like I've had this season where there's been a lot of games for the first time in my life. There's been a lot of games this year where I've just not been able to get to for whatever reason, more than any other season in my life since I got a season ticket. And so suddenly I'm like, well, okay, I'm not going to be affected this season, but what if this happens again?
Yeah, but you've given it away. You give it away to people or put it on the exchange or whatever. So you're not on the blacklist.
But then fans will just go, okay, I'll just give it away. But what if they can't? What if they've got no mates?
But then they put it on the exchange. That's the point, isn't it? That's what I'd be honest, mate. This I would be stunned if this wasn't a thing. A very deliberately well-placed, well-placed story by the club with that particular account, which was, because there's no detail in it. You can always tell a good news story if there's detail, or a good source if there's detail. There was no, if you've not been to X amount of games, you're in trouble. There was none of that. It was all very spurious. You knew it'd get big, or the club knew it'd get big traction. And then all it does, it gets everyone on their toes and encourages people to think if they can't go, to get it on the exchange. That's what the club want. They don't give a stuff whether like season ticket holders are buying a season ticket and selling all 19 games, because they make a load of money out of every flipping ticket exchange thing. If they did a ticket exchange thing where they could sell the ticket at the pro rata rate to which you buy your ticket with a small admin fee or whatever, that's some sort of fair system. Like, it does the club a right favour, because you said your face value of your Tottenham ticket was £75.
If I knew I was getting that back, I would have sold it and not given it to you.
Yeah, exactly. But if you'd have put it on the exchange, you'd have got £45 for it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the club taking 75.
And I can only spend that £45 with the club again. It comes in as club cash.
Yeah.
You can't withdraw it. But I seem to remember a few years ago, Man United tried a similar thing. They actually went public and announced it. I don't know whether it actually went through. And I remember seeing that headline and reading their statement on their website and going, that's a little bit harsh, kind of like stopping people from renewing a season ticket and spending the money that they want to spend just because they've only been to a few games as opposed to the full 19. So I think it would be harsh, but I don't know. I'm just going to make sure I go to more games next season just to be on the safe side.
Or just keep giving me spare tickets if my sister wants to take mine. Right, James, while we're on the fan topic, one more email we've had in. Alex Kirby from the Ironworks Alliance. Now, before I read this out, I will just say I don't know anything about the Ironworks Alliance. Perhaps should have done a bit of due diligence before reading it out on the podcast. So if you're listening going, why the hell are you endorsing them? It's no sort of endorsement or anything like that. It's an email we've got in, and I'm reading it out, see what James has got to say. This isn't sort of any, like I say, endorsement of any sort of group or anything like that. Just a point of discussion, really. Hi, Will, James. We at the Ironworks Alliance are a rapidly growing supporters group aiming to improve the atmosphere at the London Stadium. First of all, no problem with that, because it is dire. I can't believe I was at a Tottenham at home game the other day, and I sat with in a little bit more of a vocal part of the stand. But anyway, this isn't part of the email. He says, Alex continues, for the Bayer Leverkusen game at home, we want the whole stadium to be a sea of claret and blue. Everybody bring his scarves and flags of their own, etc. I assume, sort of retro shirts and replica shirts will be accepted as well. The drive behind this is that, in fact, it was done in the 70s and 80s and should be brought back for a special game like this. We reach out to you as you and your podcast have a big influence. We really think if it gets to a wide enough audience and everyone does something to get involved, it could be really special. Let us know what you think. Thanks a lot, Alex, on behalf of the Ironworks Alliance. Reiterating now, don't know much about them. Just got an idea. I've seen a little bit of back and forward involving them prior to this on Twitter. One thing, I mean, that's a fairly inoffensive campaign that they're trying to get going. First of all, the first thing I would say was, I don't think it was just done in the 70s and 80s. I remember as a kid going to Upton Park, always be the first and last game of the season. I mean, when I was a kid, I sort of wore replica shirts most weeks anyway. But in particular, even as I got a bit older, going with my dad would always insist that we all wore our West Ham shirts on the first and last game of the season. And that did tend to be the generally accepted thing that was done. I appreciate for big games in the 70s and 80s with the scarves and all that, it was a bit more so. Very, very inoffensive. I'd have no problem with it whatsoever. I do think it would make for a nice occasion. I'm sure the club will do like a TIFO thing as they've done before with all the environmentally unfriendly claret and blue plastic bags that they normally put in the old Billy Bond stand. But yeah, James, like I say, not an endorsement of the group or anything. Don't know too much about them, but what do you make of that from Alex there and that idea, and I suppose generally what it means for the stadium if groups of fans are having to do that sort of stuff? Because the idea of that happening at Upton Park would have just been, alien to anyone who used to go to that hallowed and beloved place.
I don't think. First of all, I think it's a good idea. It's a good little initiative to try and put in place. Yeah. But I don't, for one, think that everyone rocking up in claret and blue is going to make any difference to the atmosphere that night. We didn't have that initiative there for Sevilla. What an incredible night that was. Didn't have it
who cares what everyone was wearing?
All the other European nights, all the nights we've won against big teams in the Premier League. Maybe it makes the place a little bit more intimidating for Bayer Leverkusen, but that team ain't lost in 41 games. Like, beaten Bayern Munich twice already. I don't think they're going to care whether they're seeing claret and blue or just a normal load of people in suits after a day's work.
You in your skin tight 1986 shirt. It's not going to be too
exactly.
It's quite scary, that, to be fair.
He's quite lucky though. After I wore it for the final in Prague, so I might wear it again. But I don't know. I think it's a good initiative. There's no harm in it. I think it's good. And I apart from the final, I don't really like wearing colours on a match day.
I always didn't mind it.
I might occasionally bring a scarf, particularly during the winter. I'll have a scarf, but I won't buy one just purely because I've got colours for it. I won't go out and buy one on the way in. But yeah, I probably won't, but that's just my own preference. But it'd be good if a lot more people do. It's like you said, it's inoffensive. It's an offensive initiative, and it's a good idea. If more and more people do it, it will make for a bit of a spectacle, a more claret and blue London Stadium than we're used to seeing. But I don't think it's going to have any real effect on whether the atmosphere is good or bad, because we've seen how good it can be.
Yeah, I think it would probably slightly add to the spectacle. But as we saw, it's one of them though. Like, claret and blue is like a weird combo, like in a whole crowd anyway, isn't it? Like the famous games I remember, like the playoff finals and the FA Cup final, where like everyone pretty much wears a West Ham shirt. Yeah. As a mass of colour, it's just weird, and it sort of makes everything just look like a big old grey blob anyway. It's not like when Liverpool played Chelsea at Wembley and it's like red versus blue. This is amazing. But yeah, I sort of quite like it. I think it's just awkward because it's a Thursday night in April. It could easily be hammering down with rain as much as it could be bright, glorious sunshine. And people just will still have a tendency to have coats and jackets on and stuff like that. But yeah, the odd scarf here or there won't help. What would you sort of make of, while we're on the subject, James, like the atmosphere at the ground these days is just getting, and I hadn't really sort of picked up on it until this season, really. I said to you before, when I've sort of felt weird clapping the players off after a win not too long ago. And I was like, literally, it was almost awkward doing it because I was the only one, when, I'd always clap the players off after defeats and certainly draws up to part. And then the Tottenham game the other night, again, it was just like, felt there was a few songs that would go up, felt awkward doing it. And I know I borrowed your ticket, but I went and sat with Tom Edwards, former co-host of the We Are West Ham podcast, just round the corner, right by the away fans in the lower tier, directly behind the goal. One of the sort of more vocal parts of the ground, probably. And yeah, just again, it's Tottenham at home. It's just not the same as it was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not far from Tom. I sort of live a little bit more around on the corner flag, and I've never really had many complaints about the atmosphere on that corner. But at the same time, I can understand why some people in other parts of the ground might feel a little bit like it's a little bit dead at times. But I don't know. I think a lot of it still is to do with the football on the pitch. I mean, I watching on Tuesday night, it seemed like the atmosphere was actually pretty good. I know it can be a little bit misleading on the telly, but I think that there has been a lot of games at home this season where you kind of have been left relatively underwhelmed, not firstly by the performance, but secondly by the result, which can probably have a bit of a rollover effect on the next time some of these fans turn up. Because, like, if you're on the back of watching us draw 2-2 home to Burnley, and then you got to rock up to the next game, and you kind of almost feel like as if you have to, but you don't really want to. Like you automatically are going in there on the back foot from an atmosphere perspective, regardless of whether it's Spurs at home or anyone else. So, and I said this when we first moved in, and everyone was complaining about the atmosphere. It's not a football stadium, not this, not that. It's dead in there. Can't get an atmosphere going. We've proven since then that we can. But back then, I was going, like, as soon as we start winning football matches, the atmosphere will be better. It'll start feeling a little bit more like home. People start feeling like they want to go more, and that will automatically rub off. And we've seen it over the last couple of years. It has been pretty damn good over there. There's been a lot of home results this season, which has probably dampened a lot of people's appetite for it. And losing to Everton, not beating Burnley, Bournemouth, those sort of games, Palace.
I'm not sure. I still think it's part of the clientele that are in there, if I'm honest. I just think you're inevitably going to get, going from a 30,000 to a 60,000, you're going to get a less diehard support. Do you know what I mean?
I get that, but then my response to a lot of fans that I see, particularly on social media, go, "Oh, fans don't sing. There's no." And it's just like, well, all right. Well, next time you rock up, start singing.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't moan about people not going to West Ham and there not being an atmosphere, if you're just going to go there and stand in silence yourself, and afterwards go on Twitter and start moaning about it. I've said it from day dot. If you want there to be an atmosphere, create an atmosphere.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're 2-0 down at home to Burnley, are you really that bothered about standing up and singing after blind bubbles? You're definitely not. Unless you want to sing,
different playing Tottenham at home, I do think, and I do think the rot has set in a little bit, and it's almost now those who do try and start it sometimes are made to feel awkward. But anyway, look, we've done an awful lot in this introduction section here. Stay with us. What we'll do this week, you'll have me and James will talk about the Wolves victory next in a little bit more detail. And then later this week, I'm flying out to Leverkusen. I'm hoping to have a little bit, or hoping to have an opposition view lined up live from Germany. This week, which should be with you Wednesday I hope. So stay with us. Wolves reaction next. A little bit of final thoughts. I'll get Jonesy's thoughts on the Leverkusen game to wrap up, and then we'll have more content for you later this week. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Get in touch, as I've just mentioned, like Jim and Alex have done there. Slide into our DMs on Insta and Twitter. That's where we're normally pretty good at replying. Plus, email us. We are westhampod@gmail.com if you want to buy us a pint. And most particularly this week it will be me because I'm out in Germany, so the podcast card will be out. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham and you can chip in to the fund over there if you so wish. Also leave us a 5-star review if you fancy it. Subscribe to the YouTube. Stay with us. Wolves reaction next. All right, coming in, Jonesy. 2-1 at Wolves. Like I said, I read out the stats, the defeat stats earlier on. The Newcastle game, bit of a freak, but annoying, but whatever. But as a superb win, that'll be one of those which doesn't get too many plaudits. That win, but it put a 6-point gulf between us and Wolves. They've got a game in hand over us, but that will still leave them 3 points behind, even if they win it, and their goal difference is now worse than ours. I know Newcastle, Chelsea and Brighton, who are the three teams wedged in between us and 7th and Wolves in 11th, have also got at least one game in hand over us, and all of them apart from Brighton, actually. So Newcastle and Chelsea will both go above us if they win theirs. But 7th, 6 games remaining, 48 points, decent haul. We're only 1 point behind Man United, and all right, they played a game less than us as well. But a decent position nonetheless. Where would you like to start with the Wolves game? I guess the controversy of the winner is the only place to go. Really, Wolves were absolutely furious about it. And I really don't say this because I support West Ham, because I have been this season. It's been easy to be fairly non-club biased, non-partisan about decisions, because VAR and the general decision making and the laws have been such a shambles that I find it quite easy to say when a decision's rubbish, even if it's for or against West Ham. I honestly don't know what they're moaning about. The bloke is 2 yards in front of Lucas Fabianski. If you think that doesn't affect, like, the header was made directly in the middle of his plane of vision, of course it affects him. Of course he's interfering with play. What on earth are they moaning about, the Wolves fans?
I've spent a little bit of time, for the first time, I think ever actually, I've spent a little bit of time on YouTube watching some Wolves YouTube accounts, their reaction to it, because I was really interested to see, because it's been well documented that Wolves have been on the end of some absolutely horrific decisions this season, very similar to us recently. And so I was like, when it went our way, I was like, well, this is refreshing for a start, but I really want to know what they feel about it. And I've got a lot of sympathy for them, but the argument tends to be from Wolves fans is that, well, Fabianski weren't going to save it anyway. It's like, well, I get that.
That's
I
conjecture,
understand.
though.
I understand.
But he might have done.
He might have
done. A geezer in the way.
I mean, sort of laws of probability, probably wasn't going to save it. But
that isn't the rule.
That's not in the laws of the game. You've got to take into account whether the keeper may or may not have saved the
ball.
Let
the ref decide whether the keeper is going to save it or not.
I mean, if we start going down that route, then VAR is only going to get worse, isn't it? So that's, for me, just a pointless thing to say, really, like whether he's going to save it or whether he's not. It's not part of the laws. Fact is that Chirera is standing in front of Fabianski. Is he in offside position? Yes. Therefore, he is interfering with play because the keeper can't see where the ball's going. Regardless, then there was the argument that, well, no one appealed for offside on the pitch, so therefore, why don't you just give it? So, again, that's not really how it works. But I do have sympathy for them. We've been on the end of them. They've been on the end of them this season. I do feel a little bit of sympathy for them, but part of me also is just like, oh, well, I don't really care because it's gone our way for once. And it feels like I put in my BBC column, it feels like a little bit of debt has been repaid by Premier League officials to us.
But it shouldn't be about that, should
not
it?
the full sum.
They still owe Wolves, that's for sure.
Well, they certainly do, yeah. But in the eyes of the laws of the game, it was correctly ruled out because he was offside and interfering with play, regardless of how far away he is from Fabianski or whether Fabianski can save it or not. Completely irrelevant. The fact is, he's interfering with play and he was offside. End of story.
No, yeah, totally with you. I do feel with Wolves, and I don't go in on their fans too much, really, but like that very much feels like the flipping tip of the iceberg for them, doesn't it? Like how many more? The camel's back is already broken, and yet the PGMO will keep adding straws anyway.
Well, a lot of the reaction. I think pretty much all of them just went, well, what's the point? I've spent 700 quid on a season ticket. What's the point of me going if this is going to happen every week? And I was like, I know how you feel, because I've felt like that recently with West Ham and like all the decisions that have gone against us. And
but they are wrong there though. It was like that's offside.
But this one, yes, it's wrong. But I think
been absolutely tucked up.
I think the reason why it probably felt worse than what it actually was is that it happened in like the 98th minute, and it was an equaliser in a game that they really wanted to, felt like they needed to win to keep the European push alive. It's gone against them right at the death, just when they thought they conceded directly from a corner in the 85th minute to lose a game, which all of the reaction as well also go, it's 2024, how are we conceding goals directly from corners still? And then going, but VAR are a disgrace, and it's like, they kind of thought they got away with
just pouring out.
They thought they got away with a diabolical piece of defending and goalkeeping, and instead it got pulled away from them by a very legal decision.
Yeah, by a very perfectly sound decision. It's funny. That's one of those where it's like massive uproar, and then like in the office today, it's like a few people everyone just going, yeah, obviously that was ruled out. All right, well let's sort of go back to the beginning then. Pablo Sarabia, his penalty, lovely penalty by the way, put Wolves 1-0 up after the Emerson foul. I don't know really. I don't know. It's one of those, I suppose these days, probably is given, but is it?
I was a little bit frustrated.
He's made a tackle in the box.
He's made a tackle in the box, and he did make contact with the ball.
That's what I mean.
And so when I saw the replays, and I was like, because as is normally the case, I was flicking around on the internet and happened to come across somewhere that was showing it, and they were showing the replays, and I was like, oh, well, they won't give that because that's a clean tackle, because he has won the ball. I say he's won the ball. He's made contact with the ball. Yes, there is contact with the player as well, and as we all know now, that any contact on the opposing player in the penalty area, you may be playing basketball in the penalty area these days.
How does that make football fun?
So it was like they shouldn't probably give this because he has made contact with the ball, but they probably will because he's made contact with the player. And how dare he touch a player in his own box?
I know.
But to be fair, you've seen him given a lot, so I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe we've just been done again. It was like, okay, well, they're going to give it.
Just, I think that's what it is. It's like, and I'm very careful these days because I think a lot of fans aren't, to differentiate between what I think just makes football rubbish and what I think is actually a bad decision in line with the laws. And I think that's what we need to do. I think this season is honestly as much about rubbish laws and overly officious referees implementing them, because exactly what you said, it's like we're not watching basketball here, and it's not like in rugby, is it, when you kind of go, well, yeah, that's a sensible to change the tackle rule because people are going head on head and getting brain damage. It's like someone doing a slide tackle and catching a player after their really good, well-timed slide tackle during which they get the ball first. No one's in more or less danger. The only thing you're tinkering with is the overall entertainment of a game of football, and that is being destroyed this season, definitely more than ever before. So it's almost like the outcome or the winners. That's why I actually really enjoyed the Tottenham game, because it was just quite a good game of football where like both teams tried different approaches, of course, but like both teams implemented very good football or like their own football strategy, and neither team really eked out quite a sort of entertaining game, I thought, being there. And it was just nice to walk away going, oh, that was a good point. Yeah, like decent goal from Zuma, like nice goal for Tottenham, couple of missed chances, just talking about football stuff rather than, oh, what a you know what I mean?
I'm so glad you said that, because I felt exactly the same way up when that game finished. I kind of it ended, and obviously we had that crazy last 3 minutes where both teams just almost forgot how to play football, and like there was like counter attack after counter attack, but the finishing was poor on both sides. And I was at the full time whistle went, and I went, do you know what? I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
the first time I've enjoyed watching a game of football for a long time, and I've gone and then I've gone, oh, I wonder why. Oh, because there was no VAR controversy. There was nothing like that. It was just two teams going at it, trying to win in the style that they want to play in, and they cancelled each other out.
Yeah,
a fair result.
Points shared. Yeah,
points shared. And there was a bit of entertainment. The crazy counter attacks each at the end just kind of made it a little bit like, and it was like a great game of football.
Exciting, but
almost a great appetite for the good old classic Barclays Premier League.
Yeah, when like it was just about football. Yeah, mental. Yeah. But no, I totally agree. I felt very similar after the Brighton 0-0. I know everyone gave me a bit of grief for that, but yeah, it was just like I just came away going, that's a good point for my team. Like, well earned there. That's 4 points off Tottenham. Lovely jubbly. A bit of a sad state of affairs when that's a rarity. Emerson's disallowed goal again. Really?
Haven't seen
it. He trod on Semedo's foot, I think, but proper loose, and then powered the header home. He doesn't trip him up. There's just minor contact. And yeah, if that's a Sunday league game, there's no way the defender goes down. And the contact probably definitely didn't warrant enough for him to go down, but he did. So then again, same as what you said, any contact now, rather than that contact warranted him going over. Now it's any contact, really decent header, would have been a good goal, ruled out, just like infuriating. Had your dotting around of the internet dropped out at that point, did it?
No, because that was in the second half, wasn't it? And by then I sort of stormed out the house. I say stormed out the house. I left the house to go to the pub to watch the results come in, and I just had enough of watching because we were 1-0 down at half time, and I was like, well, screw this, I'm not watching this again. So all I got from that goal was Neil Lennon on Soccer Saturday talking about it and saying, and had Mike Dean in the studio as well, going, probably not enough, but when Mike Dean goes, probably not enough to rule it out, but they probably will rule it out. It's just like, okay, well, yeah.
That means it's an absolute stinker, yeah.
But the weird thing is that we're desperate to see it, really, but it's not in any.
Well, I mean,
it's been removed. It's almost like it never happened,
mate. All you literally have to do is Google West Ham, click on the West Ham Wolves game, and then the Sky Sports match package is right there with the thing in it. I gave myself a. Nah, not true. Just Google West Ham. Click on the West Ham Wolves game.
I've watched so many different highlights packages trying to find it. Maybe Sky Sports is the only one I haven't watched. But
I'm sending it to you in the private chat of the thing right now. But and then so Emerson then wins the penalty for handball, of the most blatant handball you'll ever see in history, off Max Kilman. Lucas Paqueta, flipping hell, made a bit of a drama of it for me. I mean, nice and accurate, but the keeper definitely guessed the right way, and I didn't like the style of that one whatsoever, but he put the ball away nonetheless. And then Jimmy Ward-Prowse gets the winner. Nice one for James Ward-Prowse. Usual possession stats for West Ham. But yeah, really good result that is, mate. Keeps us in the mix. And we've got, let's be honest. I mean, we'll do it now as part of the roundup. Jonesy, 6 games to go in Europe still as well, of course. Couple of those games, well, I say a couple. 2 of them are particularly difficult, being at home to Liverpool and away to Man City. We've also got Chelsea away in the league, which could go either way. That's by no means a given. Then Fulham, Crystal Palace and Luton. Let's do that fun little game that we always do. I'm not sure if you've paid your £20 to the Bobby Moore fund yet, by the way, for the
No, I
better
haven't.
one
I
off
keep
you
forgetting.
absolute
Sorry,
weeks
mate.
ago.
Yeah,
Disgraceful
should do that.
But Fulham, Crystal Palace, Luton, Chelsea. If that's not 9 points, and I don't know what is, but I feel like that's another one of those 7 points, and then Liverpool City the other two. I don't think we get anything there. Yeah, between 7 and 9 points, I imagine, for the rest of the season, which will put us on either 55 or 57. Like a decent haul once again in the Premier League. What it will be enough for, I can't really tell yet. But what's your heart telling you at the moment? It does feel, for me, really, that, you know, if we do happen to get through Leverkusen, it's both barrels Europa League again. And weirdly, I feel like it should be anyway, because if we manage to pull off the impossible and Liverpool are targeting the title, then we go into the Champions League and win the Europa League.
I mean, yeah, if we beat Leverkusen, then we're probably second favourites. But from a league point of view, I think Fulham and Palace winnable. I'm looking at the Chelsea one going. I know they've been a little bit better recently, but they had a stinker against Sheffield United last night.
They're beatable.
And this has got to be the first year in a long time where you fancy going to Stamford Bridge and getting a good result. I know we've had a couple of good wins over there recently, but this year, those wins in the past, like the Cresswell winner, and those have almost come out of the blue. You weren't expecting it, but now you're going into this one at Stamford Bridge, going, well, we should come away with at least a good result here.
Definitely.
I mean, we'll just
and that will have huge sway on where we end up finishing with them.
Well, yeah,
as
long as we avoid defeat against Chelsea, then it's a good result. Liverpool will just write off because we never win at Anfield. And then the City one, if the title race goes down the end of the season, I'm going to be completely honest here. I hope if it does, that title race goes to the end of the season and City is still in it, and they have to beat us to win the league. I really hope our qualification for Europe's already in the bag and we don't have to do anything. Yeah, because I would 100%. Love City to beat us to stop Arsenal from winning that title and stop Declan Rice lifting that trophy. We need to wrap up European qualification before that last game of the season, because we do not want to stop City winning the league if it means Arsenal are going to lift it.
Yeah, quite agree. Listen, we do never win at Anfield, James, but we are playing Liverpool at home on the 27th of April.
In that case, then 3 points, easy.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, look, there you have it from James Jones. I'm going out to Leverkusen this week for what is a massive game for West Ham United, and I will take a 2-1 defeat right now. But Jonesy, look, tell people where they can follow us on social media. Give us some final thoughts, and you can do the sign off for a change.
No, you can't do that to me. You just put me on the spot. I'm just gonna read the ticker underneath. So you can follow us. We are West Ham. And don't forget that it's mostly Will tweeting on that one and his weird opinions. Don't like us on Facebook. Let's remove that because you deleted the Facebook page, didn't you? So forget Facebook.
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram at We Are West Ham Pod, and we are obviously available on all Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other podcast platforms. Don't forget we're on YouTube as well. Buy us a beer. buymeacoffee.com/We Are West Ham. Have I forgotten anything? I'm doing pretty well here at the moment. And send us an email.
Leave us a review, 5-star.
Send us an email. wearewesthampod@gmail.com. And send us a review on whatever you're listening on. 5 stars if possible, but put the comments underneath those 5 stars can be negative if you want.
Yeah, of course,
Don't care, just as long as it's 5 stars. And I think that's it, isn't it?
Go on, give us some final thoughts then, a little bit of a summary, and then I promise I'll do the sign off for you.
Okay. View on Leverkusen. I think we're going to draw 1-1.
God, what a result that would be. I think we'll win. I think we'll lose 2-1, but I think that'll be enough, and we'll come back and do them at our place. Right, that's it. Short and sweet from Jonesy, as is Jonesy's way, as one of the shortest, sweetest men that I know. Huge game Thursday night, Leverkusen away. I'll have an opposition view for you from Germany. Should be uploaded Wednesday, early afternoonish, hopefully, because I'm getting into Germany nice and early on Wednesday. Yeah, massive game. I'll try and have an opposition view for you for the Fulham game as well beyond that this week. But what a week it is. What an exciting time to be a West Ham fan once again. The excitement isn't really waning, but this, I think, is our biggest test in Europe so far across all three of the campaigns we've had. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for getting in touch. Do exactly what James just told you to do then in the housekeeping. Thanks for listening. West Ham are massive. Up the Hammers. Another win away from home. We'll speak to you later this week.